On this episode of A Soul's Quest podcast, Omar and I will discuss the concept of the 3 metamorphoses of the spirit and how it relates to our quest through life transitions and self-actualization. Stay tuned. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm interested in this topic because I don't really know a lot about it.
Okay.
So this is going to be a new one for me.
Okay.
What are we talking about?
The metamorphosis of the spirit.
In Nietzsche's.
It's the prologue to Dos Books Zarathustra, which is the one of his most favorite, one of his most popular books.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about Nietzsche's stuff, so this would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we going to start with our typical quote?
Yeah, start with your typical quote. Yeah.
Okay. And this is from Thus Spoke Zarathustra, right? 3 metamorphoses of the spirit do I designate to you. Okay. How the spirit becometh a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child.
Correct.
So explain,
right? So
I said explain.
One of the and I think that we talked on this subject before, but I wanted to talk to on it again, because we are transforming into a different stage of a soul's quest. So I feel that it was fitting to talk about this particular thing because it's an evolution of both our individual selves, but also the what we're trying to accomplish, this whole initiative, right? So in this book, like that's the quote that most people associate with this book is God is dead and man has killed it, right?
Oh, okay.
So
I've heard that before.
And so the idea that a lot of people kind of misconstrue is not that in our times the concept of God has been destroyed.
What do you mean by destroyed? Just like different interpretations of him?
Yeah. So we live in a very nihilistic time, in that idea that unifying idea of the oneness, no longer applies to us, and as a consequence of that, right, we become very nihilistic. We don't appreciate beauty. We don't appreciate things like we used to anymore. Everything is, just look at the world around you. Everything is so separated and everybody's on edge and everybody's, so when you're living in that situation, it's not and there's no unifying idea of concept of like a God that unifies everything. The tendency is to go towards nihilism or hedonism on things in which, in that aspect, right? So the idea behind this book is that is the state of our world, but now it is left up to us as individuals, really, to go through these transformations, right? And to live out of that essence of who we are, and confront that nihilism, confront that aspect of just throwing our hands in the air and not caring, and become resentful and become bitter and become less of a man, of human. That which we're, that's the idea, that when you live in a society like that, it's like everybody becomes so apathetic to everything that we lose our desire. So in order for us to transform ourselves, it's got to come from within, and we have to confront these challenges that are presented to us in order to live our authentic life. It's a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful philosophy that he mentions, because it's living your authentic life. That's the idea of an Übermensch, right? Living from that essence to being the best possible thing that you could potentially be. And thus, by living from that point, you redeem the world. It's the whole hero quest, the hero's journey simplified within you. So that right there, and I mean, this has always been one of my favorite concepts in anything that I've come across or read, because it is the beauty of the West, right? It's the beauty of America. It is the beauty of who we are as people. It's that through our individual actions and who we are as people, as individuals, we redeem everything that's around us and we bring light to the darkness. But in order to do that, we have to transform. We have to go through this different metamorphosis,
which is basically the hero's journey.
Precisely.
So take us through that really quick, just as a synopsis, because I know we talked about this, but that's important.
Yeah. So the first transformation that takes place, right, that needs to take place, is transforming from a camel, right? A camel is a beast of burden, right? And metaphorically speaking, this is, like a camel says, put a load on me. You take it to, in the Silk Road, to take things from one place to the other to sustain a production line. That's what a camel does. It's just
the beast of burden.
The beast of burden, right? So, in metaphorically speaking, what that means for us, it's our social conditioning, right? Both our social conditioning, our cultural conditioning, right? And those are the aspects which we have to transform for. And what our social conditioning really is, it's not, again, we taking it away from the theme or looking at things from polarities, right? Social conditioning has its place. It turns us from just a mere animal, right, of pure desires and wants and meeting our wants and selfishly being an animal for survival, into a human. Right? We go to school to learn to communicate with one another, to learn about our history, to be able to understand concepts like math and science, or how nature works, right? So we have to understand those things, right? We live within a culture, and a culture gives us a being, gives us a meaning, gives us purpose, right? But there's a point in which all that stuff becomes confining of our spirit. Right, and yes, it's easy to say, but it's traumatic, and this happened to me, and all that stuff. You could look at it from that point of view, and that is a perspective, right? But you could also look at it from the standpoint in which this is what life is. Things are thrown at us. We're just reacting to things, and we're learning from things, particularly at our early age, into adolescence, through adolescence, into young adulthood. For the most part, right? These are things that we're taking in order to be a viable member of a society. And sometimes those things become shackles, right? And that's when the first transformation, and you feel it in your body. You feel it within your spirit. So this is the first transformation from the camel to now the lion. Into the lion, right? Okay. So the lion, right, is a ferocious beast, right? The king of the jungle. He's a fighter. Every time you see a lion, right, you think of a courage. You think of somebody fierce, fierce, like somebody that's just going to attack, right? So what you're doing is that you've learned all these things that the values or the thou shalt, or everything that culture has to give you. You assimilated it, you lived it, you embodied it, but it comes to a point in which it no longer serves that inner part of you. And again, it's like I talk about the soul, right? Because there's this psychological and emotional place that things are not right. You feel it, and we all feel it. Well, for the most part, if you're attuned with who you are as a person, you feel that, right? And that's when that lion comes out, that courageous to trying to fight, not to conform to certain ideals. Okay, so to resist. This is what the societal expectations. Exactly. So we've learned, just to recap, we learned about how to live, how to go from that beast into becoming humanized, so to speak. Correct. Learning education, all these different parents, whatever, learning the lessons. And that takes us to the next level of transformation into, okay, now I'm here, and now I'm not necessarily seeing eye to eye on this value that society has placed
on me, so to speak, because we're talking about the individual. So now that's where the lion is now resisting that. And they're saying, okay, nope, not having that. Okay, so go ahead with that, because that's important.
So that part right there, it's pivotal, right? Because you come into a point in your life in which these things that have been given to you, all value systems, all ideas, you know, the cultural bombardment, right? Because you feel that now. I mean, at least for me, right? That idea of success, that idea of being someone that others look up to within the spectrum of society, right?
No, I was going to say, just really quick, not everybody feels this way, though.
No, but this is why heroes. This is the part, right? That's interesting, the very part that is interesting, because people do feel it.
But some are afraid to be the lion.
That is and ironically enough, right? And this is how all this stuff, you know, matches together, right? The cowardly lion from the Wizard of Oz, same concept, because we become that. And deep down, we suppress it.
Right. We resist it.
Because
we don't want to disappoint people. Yes. We don't want to. We're afraid. Right.
We hide behind the facade of the perception of what others have of us. Okay. And we live his life based on the perception of the outside, or how we reflect to the outside, rather than what we are.
Yeah, I get it.
And this is the part. Now, whether you choose to pursue that or not, this is why heroes are very few and far in between. This is the interesting part. Because most people choose to ignore it. You know, and they live within that, like that little framework, and trying to keep up and doing all these things. And again, if that works for you, by all means, I'm not judging either directions. But if you feel that call, if you become agitated like the lion, I'm doing like a lion, feeling agitated, right? That means that you're ready to go and confront the dragon.
Which is where you're saying,
Yes.
Right.
And in order to do that, you need to become a lion. You can't be a camel, cannot confront a dragon.
Right.
And we're going to get into the dragon. But a camel doesn't have the strength, the courage to be able to confront that lion.
Now let me ask you this: where does the child come in?
Let me get into
I'm
that.
too far in it. Okay,
you're moving ahead. Yeah.
Okay, because you said the dragon, and I didn't mention the dragon.
No, we didn't mention the dragon, but this is the task of the lion. This is the only the task of the lion
is to confront the dragon.
You have to confront it.
Okay,
right? You have to confront those. You got to confront. You got to question those things that were given to you. You know, the value systems.
Okay,
I understand. That were placed upon you, the demands that were placed on you, the ideals that were placed on you. And you have to do two things with it. Either you have to discard them, right? Or you have to assimilate it. Into yourself, right? So there's like a couple of different stories when it comes to dragons, right? So there's a story of Siegfried, right? Who goes and kills the lion, kills the dragon, confronts the dragon, kills him, and then he tastes the dragon's blood, right? And he assimilates that blood, right? So what that means, metaphorically speaking, is that you go out there and you taste, you test whether the values that were given to you by society are valid to your being.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, whether they're, you know, I have certain values of respecting other people, of not taking advantage of other people, or I don't have the value of survival of the fittest, meaning that I don't have to. I have to do whatever it takes, who come what may. It doesn't matter who I got to step over to be successful. That's not a value that is in me. You know, I value freedom. I value self-reliance. You know, and I want other people to to have those things without me forcing it on them, right? And this is something else that we do. You know, we neglect the values, but once you assimilate and you test these values, right, and you see whether or not they have some validity, right? Yeah, you tame that dragon.
Gotcha.
Right. Sometimes you have to kill the dragon,
right?
Because the dragon is too overwhelming, and this is what you see when you see, like, you know, political revolutions, when you things like that in systems that are no longer working, people revolt.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that happens with you. You know, there's sometimes maybe traumatic events that happen in your life that you said, you know, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
You fight back. You know, the civil rights is a good example of a lion standing up and facing and confronting a dragon of oppression. You know, apartheid is another example of a lion facing that and destroying that system, because sometimes you do have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, so that is the goal, and that is the purpose, metaphorically speaking, of the dragon. And speaking on an individual self, it's like you have to confront things. You have to face them. Because if not, you're gonna wither away. And you're not going to really live your authentic life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you talk about authenticity. You're not living an authentic life if you're living the life of other people.
If you live in the life of other people.
So now, you have to confront the lion or the dragon, which is the scary part for a lot of people.
And the thing is, and before we go into like the child aspect, it's like the thing about being a person like that is like wants to confront the values that we get handed down to them, wants to live from their authentic self, that it is a lonely place, because the work that you have to do, psychologically speaking and emotionally speaking, is a lonely thing.
Yeah,
this is
because not everybody aligns with those values that you're or those things that you're trying to overcome.
Correct. Plus more than that, it is your unique experience, and you could have, you know, groups that could help you out. You could have a community that could help you out, but ultimately the job has to be done by you. Confronting that lion, that dragon, has to be done by you. Yeah. You are the ones that, in your solitude, in your darkness, you know, and this is one of the reasons why I became a life coach, is because I want to help people through that process. But ultimately, it's like, again, the line from the Matrix, Morpheus telling Neo, I could only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Correct.
And that's the thing that we have to do. And I personally have been doing that myself for the last 2 years. It's almost as if I completely just destroy everything, you know, confronted that dragon, dealt with that dragon, came out a different person. And we'll talk about that. Trying to figure out exactly what that will look like. But I have to face it in my rumination, in my that editor speaking in the back of your mind on a constant basis, right? So you go through all that, but you have to confront it, and that's the part. Okay. Now, once you confront it, once either you have tamed that dragon, right? You have tamed it, and you use it for your own purposes, or you have destroyed that lion. The next thing that comes up in the next third and final transformation is transforming from a lion into a child, right? And the thing, the quote that he uses is a wheel rolling out of his own essence, right? It's not a child in terms of a brain-born creature.
Okay, good.
Right?
I'm glad you're saying that, because that's, I think, where people are going to lose is, what? A lion to a child?
It's not a child in essence of just of a brand new creature. It is in essence a brand new creature, spiritually speaking, or with a new perspective.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
The analogy that goes with that, right? The second analogy is it's the death and resurrection motif. Right, that you're dying to something and then you are born into something else. So, you know, typically in religious terminology, you use you're dying to the flesh and then you're born in the spirit. Right,
it's almost like being baptized.
Precisely. So the idea of those is renewal.
Renewal. Yeah.
It's being born evolving into a different being, but the being that is born with lives from its essence. It lives from their core self, their core values, who they are, their innate talents, that thing that comes from within, you know. And typically we see that with artists, but anybody could do this. That's the fallacy that we say. But this individual is the only person that is truly capable of evolving and creating something new.
You're saying the individual that's gone through this process.
Yeah,
is
the child, the combination of the transformation of the child. It's the only person that is truly able to create, and creating from an essence of renewal, right? Because you see, and then you see a lot of things in culture and in the world, right? You see a lot of artists and you see a lot of different things, but this person is creating and living from their essence, their unique point of view.
Okay.
And typically the people that live from that point of view it's people that are renewing and seeing something different.
Right.
You know, one of the best analogies that I've seen or that I studied on or learned from is kind of like Malcolm X. You know, unfortunately he got killed, assassinated, but the reality of the fact is, like, you listen to his story and you listen to his transformation of being a hardcore person to transforming into a different type of human and building, living from a point of view of acceptance when before he wasn't, but also fighting for something that it was bettering other people. Same thing with MLK, same thing with Mandela, same thing with a lot of different people. I'm just picking those three. I don't know. I just picked those particular three, but you could see the embodiment of that concept within those three individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So then this is the part where, and I think you kind of alluded to this earlier, where once you transform and you become the child, reborn, go through this process, then you're on the road to self-actualizing.
Correct.
Because you're living from an authentic place.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where, for me, when I think about it, I think that's where the joy in life comes from. Like that's all. It's hard to go through this process of transforming, right? But once you get there, like, what is that? What's that like to be in that place where you're self-actualizing? Because you just said that you're there, right? Like we both are. We're sort of like, oh my God, we went through all this stuff and now we're here. And so we've sort of gone through this process that you just explained. And now we're in the process of because nobody ever reaches self-actualization.
No,
they're always in flux, right? So when you're in flux, but you're self-actualizing and you're meeting these goals. Am I right? Goals along the way? Like what do you say about?
Yeah, so what I'm saying to that, it's about creating, right? So personally, me speaking, right? And this is kind of like the things that I've done is my metamorphosis has started with, feeling a lot of pain, confronting it and saying, nah, I don't want to live like this anymore. This is kind of like what I want to do, and starting this project and now involving having a metamorphosis into becoming this individual and fighting internally, the things that made me uncomfortable, the cultural shackles that I felt that I had, confronting my own individual dragon, right? Facing the doubts, facing the lack of self-worth, facing the priorities, like I'm not good enough at things, I've never accomplished anything, I'm facing all those things that the dragon typically beats you down, so having going into my own depths of hell, so to speak, to come out, my first reaction was really to identify who I was as a person, right? And there's certain values that I hold dear to me. And number one is I want to have a sense of belonging, right? And that sense of belonging means that I want to feel comfortable with who I am as a person in relation to the universe, not particularly to groups or things like that, but I want to be able to have. I was listening to Brene Brown talking about Maya Angelou, and she had this thing. The greatest, the greatest sense of belonging is not belonging anywhere. Yes. Something along those lines.
Which is the idea of not negotiating who you are to belong or fit in to groups. Which is what you're saying.
So there's like, to me, that is like one of my biggest things. Like I wanna be like that. I don't want to belong to anything. I just want to belong to Omar.
Right.
And that's it, right? So that's like important to me. So I'm kind of like working on that. The second thing that I'm focusing on is having a sense of inner peace. And being okay with my past, my failures, my mistakes, the things that I didn't do, the things that I wish I would have done, the things that I didn't do. Like, I've become at peace with all that. And I've worked really, really hard internally to accomplish that. I've reached out to certain people helping me, but then doing the work myself and meditating and doing those inner things to make myself be at peace with that. The third part is to become more creative. This is kind of like what I'm doing now with A Soul's Quest. It's evolving into a creating endeavor of expanding it to include helping people that are going through similar things like I did, helping those individuals confront these challenges and help them build the courage to actually face it themselves, transform it, and come to a different view of how they want to live the rest of their lives, right? So that's kind of like really creative. Fourth is freedom. The freedom to be myself, the freedom to create, the freedom to look at beauty and see beauty, and be in that sense of freedom. And that yes, there's finances, money attached to all that stuff, but there's something that is achievable because others have done it. And obviously the last thing is a sense of enjoyment. Like I want to enjoy life. Like I want to enjoy it. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy when I'm coaching someone and I don't know what the conversation is going to look like because people dictate with conversations, and then be able to have that person say, wow, thank you. I feel so much better and so much clearer. Yeah. So having an enjoyment of be able to spend time with you, to be able to spend time creating, to be able to spend time doing things that bring me that enjoyment. In life, life isn't up and down, but if I'm able to hit a lot of those things, then that it's the aspect of becoming that child that I'm beginning to live from that point. And it's a different sense of life when you start living from that point versus where I wasn't. I could tell you the difference. The energy level is different. The passion in which that I speak with is different. And more than that is getting into the point now in which I have the freedom, or I'm working more towards the financial freedom, but the freedom in general to dictate who I spend my time with, who really I'm willing to share my life with. Because you can't share your life with everybody because it's not possible, number one, just logistically speaking, but it's also not everybody cares about who I am. But there are people out there that are willing. I want to appreciate who I am as an individual, right? And I'm able to say that with confidence now, which I never was able to say before, and that's because I was able to go through this metamorphosis myself. Now, I'm by no means like an end product, nor am I a perfect person. I don't mean to insinuate anything like that. But it does I do see it a difference in the sense of how I live. So then you said that, you went through this whole process, this metamorphosis, if you will. And you mentioned the about life coaching. That's one of the reasons why you become a life coach. So talk to us a little bit more about the life coaching, the life transition coaching, and how that sort of correlates with the metamorphosis. So the idea to me is that I always wanted to help people. I mean, this is why I've been working with youth development organizations for the last 15 years. This is why I was always a Boy Scout. This is why I always was in this type of fields, right? Because I always wanted to empower people to become self-reliant, right? Mentally, spiritually. That's why we are a Soul's Quest, because we embody that part of that, both the logic, but also the emotional, spiritual aspect of things, right? So I always want to empower in people to actually go through that. But I remember when I was in my 20s, I always said to myself, like, which is ironic how things work out. It's like, I don't feel like I have enough life experiences to be able to help anybody, right? Which was a bad thing to say because I went through so much crap to get to where I am right now. So like, as have we all. And it's sometimes it was like a lot of self-inflicted things that but it's been a lot of crap and a lot of things that I've learned. And now that I'm looking back in retrospect, it's like, oh wow, that was interesting. And I'm glad that I feel it because now I could probably relate to somebody better that went through similar things. So the idea of our life coach process is simple. It's like, we want to help. We want to be there for individuals because I think individuals have answers. They have their own answers, just like I found my own answers within myself. Definitely. Other people help me and ask very powerful questions to help me think and clarify what I was thinking.
That's what the life coaching does.
Yeah.
Is they ask the questions and guide
and provide the safe environment for you to explore, for you to find your answers. But the idea is that you have to do the deep work yourself. You know,
which you had mentioned earlier.
You know, it's like, but
opening the door,
and then you're walking through it. And the idea of being able to do that, and we'll do more in an episode on exactly what life coaching is. You know, life coaching is not therapy. You don't look into the past. You know, this is not what life coaching is all about. You know, it's not a friendship. It's not a friendship in which I'm just going to give you advice or anything like that. A coach creates an environment that you could explore, a safe, positive environment in which you could explore, and then find your answers.
Is it like about, and I'm just asking for people who might know, is it about providing individuals with the tools and resources in that time that you spend together? No. I know we don't want to get too deep into that, but I'm just curious as to how the life transition coaching is going to be beneficial to helping people through the process of metamorphosis, you know, of going through this cycle.
I mean, it's
succinct answer, I guess.
Think of it as a guide.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
An Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Yoda.
Okay.
You know, a person that has been through it, that understand the experiences, understand the rumination. Okay. That understands the pain, the grief,
which are all elements of going through the transformation.
Yeah. The loneliness, the inability to clarity see exactly what you are, where you want to be, the inability to see all that.
I understand.
And then to be able to help you focus on identifying what your core values are, just like identify my 5 core values, right? Help you to identify what those core values are.
Right.
Help you to identify what your life purpose might be.
Right.
Help you to identify your innate skills, which are already innate within you, but you seldom get to think about them and examine and explore what those things are, because maybe what you see yourself as your innate core skills and values and talents are what you have been given as a camel, you know, the structure that you received in school, the things like that. But there's so much more for us to be human. So it's almost as if, and I'm speaking in metaphors, as if you have to mine, right? Like getting those minerals out of the ground. You have to mine those innate things out of yourself, you know. So a coach will help you get through that process to be able to identify those 3 main things, aspects of yourself, so that now you could start creating the life that you want.
Got it.
And living from that essence as that child, you know. So that's the premise of it all, and that's the point. So yes, the guidance is there, the ability to have that safe environment, to be able to identify those things, and then be able to create that path for yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it's you. You know what I mean?
You're the one that's doing it. You're just, like you said, I can open the door, but you got to do the work.
Walk through it. Yeah. You know, it's like, and you're doing it. And I love the coaching aspect more than anything else, because it gives individuals the power and the choice, right? That's the beautiful thing. It gives them the power and the choice to determine the direction of everything that happens, which is in true, right? The only power that we have. You know, that choice, that idea of living our own life. It's been the promise of the West. It has been the promise of Western civilization since the Greeks. Yeah. You know, so it is the promise of the beauty of the universe. We're so unique in our own way, but we're robbed. Yeah. We allowed ourselves to be robbed.
I was going to say, it's kind of a choice.
We allowed ourselves to be robbed. Yeah.
But we don't even know. We don't even know that it's a choice.
Yeah. We don't even know. So that's why we have to become more aware of those things. So,
and it almost sounds like going through that process of the transformation, the metamorphosis, and then coming to a place where maybe speaking with a coach or being with a coach and having that guide is that sort of awakening. That you know what I mean?
And I could tell you that he did it for me. You know, I've been doing some things in the last 6 months, right? And then I started working with a coach just to help me clarify, because I had a lot of things in my head.
Yeah.
mean, when I started a Soul's Quest, right? It was an idea. I just want to figure out a way to go into marketing, make some money, and whatever, and then just say some ideas. And it's like, no, and I suffered for it. And then I started working with somebody to clarify what my vision was.
Right.
I'm working of getting completely certified, becoming a PCC in the next maybe within the next year, because I have to get certain hours. But the process of it, kind of like when I started, right, and this is the way things work, right, and this is why I've always been hesitant of using like the soul spirit, but I'm not anymore, because I think that's important. This is important to get, right. When you get to a point in your life, right, in which you're beginning to align yourself, right, and you begin to go from that metamorphosis of becoming a lion, right, and then transforming into that child, things begin to happen to you.
Right.
Right. So started the Soul's Quest. Went almost a year. Nothing really kind of happened. Right. I was very ambitious about certain things that I wanted to do. Right. Got lost in there. Lost money, this and that. Things where I was in a dark place. Right. Called this lady who I met 2 years ago, because I asked her to do a training for me for my staff. And I said, hey, I was wondering if you could help me out. She told me, I've been waiting for you. Right. And at the same time, I came across the works of Joe Dispenza. And so I started doing those two things. Within a matter of 4 months, enrolled in the life coaching class. I'm very clear about what it is that I want. I know that there's work to be done. And it's a little bit scary, because I'm anxious about, okay, what could happen, transitioning and this and that and the other. But it's kind of like almost the happiest that I've been in a long time. Right. And there's so much creativity that's taking place, because there's so many different aspects of things that I want to do. And then ideas just keep coming and things just keep happening. So it's almost as if when you start living from that point, things begin to align to help you get to that point. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy. That's not the point. And that's not the point of life, to have it easy. That's not the point. The point is to be able to align yourself and see those little things happening. And those coincidences happening. Yeah. Right? That you put yourself in that particular track and it works. And it's now what's going to be the measurement of success for it, right? I have measurements, certain things that I would like to see happen physically, but more than anything is continue to have freedom, peace, enjoyment, right? And live from that point with myself and those people that I come across with.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the interesting part. Yeah. And it's the more I reflect on it, the more thankful I am for those dark times, for being looked at as less than, for being made fun of, for being discriminated against. Like, all those things needed to happen, because I know how potentially dark our human heart could be, because it's happened to me. But I don't want to live from there. And that's okay. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting stuff.
It's actually very, it's pretty amazing, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And that's why I feel that by doing this, my hope is to help others transform that, which is, what Ken taught me to do. Right. Live your life, influence others by the way that you live your life. Right. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that's an amazing way to move into the final part. I'm kind of like, yeah, that was really amazing. So, all right. So we talked about the three metamorphoses of the spirit, and how Nietzsche's Zarathustra, I get so tongue twisted when I say that, can help you find your authentic self. And it can be used as a tool for a quest. Correct. So we have 7 strategies or tools or tips that we can use in sort of using the 3 metamorphoses as a framework for going through the life transition. Sorry.
Correct.
So the first one is to embrace the unknown. Life transitions can be scary because they involve stepping into the unknown. That is so true. However, embracing this uncertainty and seeing it as an opportunity for growth and exploration is important.
Yes.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
Number 2, identify your current metamorphosis. Before moving forward, it is important to identify where you are in the 3 metamorphoses of the Spirit's framework. Are you currently in the camel stage, where you are accepting societal values and norms? Are you in the lion stage, where you are rebelling against those values? Or are you in the child stage, where you are integrating your own values and beliefs? Know where you are can help you identify what you need to do to move forward.
That's really important. And I would say that's where a life transition coach would be really beneficial.
Correct.
Because they help you kind of figure that out. Because a lot of people wouldn't know. I mean, I don't think they would normally just know that, right? Okay, so 3, practicing self-awareness. Self-awareness, we know we love our self-awareness, is crucial for navigating life transitions. Take time to reflect on your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Ask yourself why you feel the way you do and what might be driving your actions. This will help you better understand yourself and make more intentional decisions.
Yeah, number 4, seek support. Going through a life transition can be challenging, and it is important to seek support from others. This could be friends, family, or a professional coach or a therapist. Having someone to talk to can help you process your emotions and gain new insights.
Okay. And number 5, challenging your limiting beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs that hold us back from achieving our full potential. Identify these beliefs and challenge them. Ask yourself if they're really true or if they're just holding you back.
Number 6, take action. Got to take action.
Okay.
Making a change can be scary, trust me, but it's important to take action if you want to move forward. Start with small steps and build from there. Celebrate your successes no matter how small they seem.
That's really important. And finally, number 7, embrace your authentic self. Ultimately, the goal of the 3 metamorphoses of the Spirit is to embrace your authentic self. This means living in a way that aligns with your values and beliefs rather than just conforming to societal norms. Embrace who you are and live your life with intention and purpose. That's good.
Yes. And it's like the Legend of Bagger Vance, you know. Go and find your authentic swing. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode on the 3 metamorphoses of the Spirit and how it can help you navigate life transitions. If you're going through a life transition and would like some guidance and support, please visit our website to learn more about our life transition coaching services.